Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live and exclusive Top Split TV broadcast of the Sunday Night Lights Australian New Zealand Strength of Field Skippy race. I am your host, Corey Steinhausen, not Alex McCullough this week. He is off with a family event. So it's myself hosting this, and joining me in commentary, we have the one Tim Gorcrotcher. Tim, over the past couple of weeks, we've had a lot of high draft tracks, but we're here this week at, well, Oran Park, which is a fairly short track with an interesting configuration, a hourglass, if you will. What are the drivers expecting from this kind of a track configuration, with it having the crossover bridge and also being fairly tight and twisty?
Yeah, g'day Corey. Thanks for having me tonight. And of course, thanks to Alex for a good handful of seasons now without a break. But Oran Park, challenging little layout. Really, really tough. Turn 1 and 2 little complex is extremely challenging. Hard on the brakes, especially on cold tyres. And if we've probably seen, if you've pulled a race this week, you would have seen a number of people, a number of people have issues through that. But it's just so challenging to pass. There's no great runs through this circuit. You can't easily use draft, and that's terrific in my opinion, because like you said, so many tracks we've seen over the past 2-3 weeks have been draft tracks, and ultimately I just get a bit sick of it. Like it comes down to the last lap, the last corner. But Oran Park's a track where if you are super clean and super fast, that you can get away, and I really like that about a tight and twisty circuit, a challenging circuit. So tonight, Corey, going to be some brilliant racing, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Indeed it will, Tim. And for those playing at home, the strength of field for the race tonight is a 48.32. And this race in itself has only just been eclipsed by the precursor to this race, which was a 49.12. I think we can boil that down to maybe some of the drivers in the previous race losing a little bit of I rating there. But nevertheless, this should be a fairly cracker of a race, as we saw while Timmy was talking there. Jose Sawyer, who was on screen, make a little bit of a mistake on his warm-up lap, but it looks like he's going pretty strong now as we're waiting for some cars to come across the line. Tim, how important is qualifying at such a small track like this, especially considering the minus all the draft zones? It's going to be hard to get some moves done around here.
Yeah, and the thing I look at, Corey, is in the Skippy, if you've got a lap time that is a minute 40, minute 52 minutes, even 2.5 at a place like Bathurst or Suzuka, some of the longer tracks on the circuit, your car's on track for longer, getting the tyres warmer. But Oran Park, you're looking at a minute sort of 13 is a good lap time around here. So you're at 3.5 minutes to have done your outlap and your 2 flyers. So not a lot of time on the track. So you'll probably find, I think, the better guys here are capable of getting the tyres that little bit hotter, that little bit quicker, and they'll find their way to the front. And quality's just key here. You'll never see a race where there's no incidents, where someone comes from 5th or 6th and makes their way forward. It's just so challenging to do. But some huge names here tonight, Corey. So I'm really looking forward to seeing who qualifies where and how they finish up after 20 laps at Oran Park.
Speaking of huge names, we have the one great Tim Hendrickson on the screen right now, going from last to first in the last round. He's put in a time good enough for P2 at the moment, behind Smurf and Sammy J. Toykala. Tim did a lap of a 1:13.355. Sammy J with a 1:13.272 to bring himself up onto the pole, as we bring up the standings banner there so we can have a better look at how everyone's doing. These guys are absolutely smashing these times out at the moment. So what would be your advice as a more experienced Skippy driver than myself about how one should possibly look at tackling just this track in general?
Well, a track like Oran Park, you really need to make sure that you're smooth and consistent. And a place like Oran Park, you want to get over the curbs because as you run up the hill over the crossover in places like that, it's so easy to drift wide. So it's really about keeping the maximum average speed up, get as good or cleaner runs as you can, and hopefully at the end of the day, as you're coming through Recaro Corner, you've put it all together and have a really good sweet run. As we see Tim Hendrickson pretty sideways, just mucking around. I think he would have posted his time, and he's just out there for giggles at the moment. But challenging place to put 2 laps together, in my experience, Corey.
Indeed, it would seem that way, and it looks like everyone at the moment who is going to do a lap has done it. We see the 16 of Sawyer on the screen. Jose Sawyer from Iberia. We've also got the 9 of Anthony Cat still on the track, and they have both completed their laps. So what we're going to do here, guys, is we are going to go and have a quick little look at the standings as they stand right now. See Sammy J. Toikala in the 4 car from Finland up on top of the timetables. Stuart Adcock from Oz NZ currently P2. He has knocked Tim Hendrickson down to 3rd at the moment. Kane Halliburton from the UK and I is currently sitting in 4th, with Andreas Marzal from Iberia in P5. Timu Vaskalampi, one of our Finnish patriarch, who's here with us every week, currently sitting in P6. Jose Sawyer, as I mentioned earlier, currently sitting P7. Håkon Grebstad, our local Scandinavian whiz, currently sitting in P8. Simon Edwards from the UK and I, currently in P9. Anthony Cat, also from UK and I, currently sitting in P10. Lee Anderson in the 5 car is currently 11th. We got a little gathering of UK and Ireland right there, 9th, 10th and 11th. Toshimasa Hanada from the Asia Club currently sitting in 12th, with Ben Snell representing Oz NZ and Team Milo in 14th. Gustavo Conde from Iberia currently sitting in 14th. Cristobal Alterio Roman buried deep in the pack there in 15th position. And Sasha Gourlay currently right down in 16th position. Now, Tim, we see a couple of the faster guys there buried deep in the pack with Cristobal Alterio Roman and Sasha Gourlay. They're both of them over a second off the pace. What do you think could have gone wrong for them in their qualifying laps?
Well, Sash is he's the surprise for me, because he's been so quick. You know, every SNL race he's been in the top 3-4 qualifiers. He's finished well. He's won some. He's had great battles with Enzo, if I remember correctly. So really surprising to see Sasha in P16 last on the grid, and I think he'd be wondering what the hell's going on. So very, very strange. But some excuse me, some very good drivers mid-pack. Simon Edwards, Hawkon, like you mentioned. Anthony Cat's been quick lately. Lee Edwards has won a couple of times in the last season. So I'm keen to see how these guys can make their way forward through the race. But it's going to be a cracker. But for me, Stuart Adcock's probably the surprise packet. I didn't expect to see him so far forward. So congratulations on a great quali, Stuart. And hopefully he can fly the Oz. I think he's a Kiwi, actually, but the Oz NZ flag.
Well, we can only hope, as the drivers are starting to grid up now. We're ready for an absolutely rip snorter of a race. We just got to wait for everyone to get onto the grid. I went through the grid standings there a little bit early. As we alluded to before, the strength of field for this race is a 48.32. The track temp currently is 24 degrees, with the wind southwest at 15 kilometers an hour. So these guys are probably in some of the perfect conditions for racing skippies here tonight, and it'll be interesting to see how the run to turn 1 goes. Now, Timmy, I'm not sure how much experience you have in the skippies so far this season, but just in general, man, how hard is the run to turn 1 and 2 with this skippy time model the way it is? I think we might have lost Tim there.
Sorry. I'm back. It is extremely challenging to run through turn one and early in the piece. You're going to be doing it side by side. Someone's going to be next to you, and it is just so dangerous. As you know, we would have seen people this week driving off the track wondering what's going on. It's been extremely challenging, Corey. But I think it's time to go green.
Indeed it is. As the revs go up, the hearts are thumping,
Go.
and the
Green
engine
flag.
is pumping as we see them all getting away there. It looked like Tim Hendrickson might have jumped the start a little bit. We'll have to wait and see as they come storming down to turn number one now. Tim, it looks like everything is looking pretty safe at the moment. What do you reckon?
It is indeed, and I don't know if you lost Hendrickson off your screen, but I lost him off of mine, and he drove right around the outside of Sami Toikala. And I don't know how, but he is leading this race from P3 on the grid straight into P1, no mucking around. What an incredible start up 2 positions.
It would seem that he was utilising some of them portals into extra dimensions to reach down deep and get into that leading position. But we did see him get a fantastic jump off the line there. So I reckon he just used his own driver skill to get around there. And what an incredible pass it must have been. We missed it because we were sitting there on the grid watching everyone go past. But at the moment, we do have Hendrickson in the lead with Sammy J. Toikala and Stuart Adcock currently in P3. These guys are racing pretty hard here, Timmy. How is it to try and keep these tyres a little bit cool so you got something to fight with?
Oh, to be honest, in the Skippy now, you can go kind of hammer and tong and not have too much happen to the car. I mean, the sooner you get them up to temp, the better the car's going to perform. But, you know, the risk here is getting sideways, particularly through turn one. It's so easy to spear off the track, Corey. But it's a pretty nice start for everyone, I say. Surprisingly clean for a track that is known to generate a fair bit of carnage. But minus turn start to finish, I've got to say, I can see one man back in the pits, 2 back in the pits, Lee Anderson and Sasha Gourlay. I wonder whether they came together, but unlucky for those 2, obviously towing, and they'll use their fast repair once the tow is complete, normally around 2 minutes at a track like this. But Hendrickson coming under a bit of pressure from Sami Toikala now, which we knew would be the case. Sami very quick here, as he showed last time round, convincingly winning, driving away from Hendrickson in fact. But I think we're going to see 20 laps of the best from these 2. I know Sami's going to be working hard to get a good run past Hendrickson on the front straight, very clean out of that exit for both of them. And Sami looking to get some fresh air, bit of cold air up the in through the intake, because these skip barbers, as we've seen many times in the past, are going to pop their engines.
Yeah, that's exactly right, mate, and I think that's why these guys are glad that it's not such a drafty circuit, because blowing the engines up is probably one of the things that is a big worry with some of the longer drafting circuits, such as Okayama, which we usually see engines expire pretty quickly there. But it looks like we've got a great little battle here going on in this front pack. It's about 6 cars deep if my calculations are correct, and it looks like the second pack there that's currently led by Timu Vascalampi is getting a little bit feisty here, mate. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it is. That group of 6 looking pretty good. I got to say, it looks like about 7/10 between Toikala and Adcock. Adcock followed closely by Kane Halliburton. Kane, a very talented driver from the UK. He is extremely quick, and we missed him for about a season and a half, maybe 2 seasons. But he's back on board enjoying the Sunday night soft. Great to have him back, Kane. Thanks for joining us. P4 looking pretty good, pretty comfortable. I think last time around, though, Corey, we dropped Jose, who looks to have, he's just over a second behind now, Andres Marzal from the Iberia Club. Disappointing for Jose, but I know he's extremely quick, and there's every chance that with a couple of clean, hard laps that he'll be able to bridge the gap and get back onto the front group of 5.
Oh, well, we could only hope there, mate, as we did see in the cameras that we're using that he actually went off the track on the final 3rd gear corner before the chicane that leads up to the final corner there. It looks like he's just got this own little bubble by himself where he's not really in the front pack, but not really in that second chasing pack there. And speaking of that second chasing pack, that is a huge line of cars, Tim.
Yeah, it is indeed. And just watching, it looks like Kane Halliburton's had some drama. Just trying to catch up with what, where, and when, but he's disappeared off my timing screens. I got to say, I think he's manually disconnected. Had some sort of an issue, had a crash perhaps. Thought, bugger this, I got better things to do. He did. He got caught up through the centre right-left complex all by himself. Speared off the track and night over. Kane, I was just complimenting you on how good it is to have you back, and then you throw it away. What a disappointment.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. One of the top UK and I drivers we had here tonight, being the 6th ranked car in this split. Hopefully he can get back on the horse and come back next week, as we're back up with the leaders now. It seems to be one of the biggest trials that these guys are facing is the tight and twisty nature of this track. It's all about who can drift around the corners the right way to gain the advantage. Something that a few of these cars seem to be getting the grips of very quickly, but a lot of them seem to be struggling with it, as I've also just noticed that Teemu Vaskalampi is buried down in last now for some reason. Did you happen to see that one, Tim?
No, I didn't. I've just got it in. No, he's got caught up. I think he's had contact with Simon Edwards. No, he's spun all by himself, but taken out Simon Edwards. So I know Teemu, who's he's been driving brilliantly lately, really, really good, but he will be furious at a mistake done entirely by himself. Fair bit of damage on the front end of that car too. So even if he's got all the pace in the world, it doesn't mean anything, because that front wing is going to ruin any chance of him making his way back up to the top 10, Corey.
Yeah, we just caught it right now, mate, and he is going backwards in turn 2. That's not something that you want to do at all, and that's very unfortunate for Teemu. Hopefully he can get what repairs done he needs to get done and be back in action if he needs to, that is. It looks like he's still on track, just a little bit of a bent front wing. As we're going to go back to the front pack now, it's a 3-car battle for this leading pack. But Tim Hendrickson in the lead, Sammy J. Toykala representing Team Milo in second, and Stuart Adcock, our highest ranked AusNZ driver at the moment, sitting in third. Stuart has been having an amazing run in this race. He is right there on the tail of Sammy J. It looks like he might be wanting to go for a move soon, but I'm not sure whether he'll get the opportunity. Sammy J is one of the best defenders that I know of, and it's definitely going to be hard for Stuart to get around him here, Tim.
Yeah, it is, and look, to be honest, it just for me feels like Stuart's just sitting there biding his time. But the thing I worry about is that for the top 3 is that Andres and Jose are going to make their way back up. We're only looking at a 1.92 second gap at the moment. But if Sammy puts a bit of pressure on Tim and those 3 up the front start battling, that gap, 2 seconds, you think, oh, it's plenty, we can just cruise, whatever. Not the case in the skip bar, but you lose that time so quickly, and it would be a battle pack of 5 again in no time at all. But it's looking a bit spread out there, Corey. I can see plenty of groups of 2 cars. Håkon Grebstad, pretty well the only guy who's not mingling with someone at the moment. But it's looking pretty spread out. Only how far into the race are we? Not too far at all, Corey.
Yeah, and that was actually something that I noticed in the warm-up race to this race. The field did start to string out quite a bit without having the massive draft zones for everyone to catch up. Things just seem to fall into the status quo here. It's just in front of Håkon Grebstad. It looks like we got a little bit of a battle forming here with Andreas Marzal and Jose Sawyer. These guys are battling it out pretty hard for the 4th position right now. And it looks like Jose has got the advantage over Sawyer at the moment. Jose has the advantage over Andreas. My apologies. But these guys are fighting pretty hard here, as we see just in front of them. Stuart Adcock still on the tail of these boys, looking like he wants to get... I'm not going to say that he wants to get into the battle with them, because it looks like these guys are just trying to stream away from the rest of the field at the moment.
Yeah, I got to say, Corey, it looks like he's just content to sit back, keep the gap at 0.4, 0.5, that sort of number, and hang in there. And I think for him, he's hoping that Sammy puts some pressure on Tim. Maybe they have a bit of contact, maybe something happens, and he'll be sitting there waiting, but just biding his time, waiting for that opportunity to come for him to scoot on past and fly the flag on for the AusNZ club on the top step of the podium tonight. But it's looking pretty good for him. But I agree that I think while Jose and Andres are looking to, they need to be looking to work together, but they're not. They're trying to put pressure on each other. One wants to lead, the other one wants to lead the next lap, and it's not really working for them. While they're keeping the gap pretty consistent to Håkon, they could be working together and bridging the gap to Stuart, Sammy, and Tim Hendrickson out in front.
Speaking of bridging the gap, I just noticed in the background of our shot there, it looks like Anthony Catt and Ben Snell, our 7th and 8th place drivers at the moment respectively, are actually bridging the gap towards Håkon at the moment. Seems that while Håkon has no drafting help for that main straightaway, which is fairly long considering the tight nature of this track, he's just been losing a couple of tenths here and there every lap to these guys catching up behind him.
Yeah, you're right. Last time round, 0.07 of a second slower than Anthony Catt, so not really bridging the gap, but it is down to 0.9, and that is draft range. So every little straight, we look at the run between turn 2 and turn 3, we're only looking at a couple of 100, 300, 400 meters, something like that, and it's enough for Anthony to pick up another 10th. And the next short straight, another 10th, maybe a couple of 100, and it all adds up. And by the time he comes round, Anthony Catt and Ben Snell are going to be right up under the rear wing of Håkon Grebstad and ready to challenge for P6, Corey.
Indeed it will, and it looks like he's been getting closer the entire time that we've been focused on this battle. But let's take a little bit of a step back and go have a look at Cristobal Alterio Roman at the moment. He's got a drafting partner himself in Simon Edwards in the 2 car, and just behind them Toshimasa Hanada back in 9th, 10th and 11th. Now these guys, they look like they've just been just holding on at the moment. They're not really going too terribly fast, I say that, but they're still within the 1 minute 13 and a half range, but they're kind of just stagnant at the moment, not really gaining time but not really losing it either.
No, they're certainly losing ground to the leaders though, but they are performing consistently. In the middle of the pack, the cars just forward of them and just behind them are all sort of doing the same lap times in the 1:13.3, 1:13.4 region. But up front, Corey, these front 3 are lapping 1:13 dead. Extremely fast pace. Tim Hendrickson in particular, to be doing that sort of pace without any assistance is very, very fast. Sammy, last time round though, he was certainly putting some pressure on Tim using every bit of draft running up the hill. The section they're going through now into the final turn was very, very close. But Tim had a pretty good run, and Sammy not in a position to be able to put any real pressure on Tim Hendrickson, who gets very, very close to the wall on the exit. Surprisingly close, actually. Got caught up a little bit on the apex, just ran the inside wheels over the concrete, chucked him a tiny bit sideways, pushed him, I think, a little bit wider than what he would like to have been. But Sammy Toikala not close enough to capitalise on I guess what could be called a tiny error by Tim Hendrickson.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not very often that we see Tim Hendrickson make an error, let alone a tiny error. So it's going to be interesting to see if the pressure that Sammy J. Toikala is putting onto him right now will indeed result in an overtake at some point, as we're watching on board from Stuart Adcock right behind them. The camera angle that we've gone for is the cockpit cam, and it's getting a little bit dirty here at the moment, so we're going to swap to the right front suspension, as we can still see these guys battling away in front, as we see the nice pink wheel of Stuart Adcock here. Sammy J definitely not giving up on trying to get that lead. I reckon he might just be biding his time for now, Tim, and maybe looking for an opportunity to where he can start practice getting a move done.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. I mean, the way he's driving, it's just like he's not even looking to make a move or use the draft, but certainly trying to keep the temps under control as we see him move out into the fresh air, get a radiator full of nice cold air, and sit back behind Hendrickson for the next lap. But I would have thought at least even once or twice. Oh, contact behind Corey. Looks like Andres and Jose have come together. Last time round through turn 2. In fact, no, it might have been Jose all by himself. No, Andres all by himself, apologies. Got caught up, had a spin, and has lost a whole stack of time. That promotes Håkon, Anthony, and Ben Snell up positions. Håkon in 5, Anthony in 5th, and Ben in 6th, respectively. Good little win for those guys. Didn't have to do anything to pick up that position. Grebstad, I got to say, he's doing really well, Corey. I think he's actually a little bit ahead of where I thought he'd be in a SOF as high as this one.
Yeah, indeed, and it's good to see Håkon doing well. We don't generally get to see him doing too terribly well, especially in the recent past. But we did go back and catch that half spin by Andreas, and it looked like he did just do it all by himself. Just got a little bit too much turn in, and it slid out too much for him. But at the moment, Håkon holding on to P4 in front of Anthony Cat right now. Anthony, with this newfound vigour and being in the top 5, starting to pour the pressure onto the back of Håkon right now. These guys are going to be set up to have an excellent battle here for these final 6.5 laps, Tim.
Yeah, interesting. Ben Snell was with them just a second ago, but I can only assume, Corey, that he made a mistake last time round, as he is 2.2 seconds off the back now. You can see a reasonable gap back to Ben Snell, so disappointing for him. His lap time doesn't look bad, a 13.5. The cars in front cruising around pretty consistently in the low 13s, 13.1, 13.2 region. So Ben Snell, disappointing. He's got a 1.5 seconds up his sleeve ahead of Andres, Simon, and Cristobal. Cristobal having a good run too. He started in P15, I think, and he's mid-pack now. Just made a move on Simon Edwards up into P8 for Cristobal, Corey.
Yes, indeed, as I'm trying to get the right camera here. We're looking at Cristobal now. And yes, indeed, he did come up from 15th and currently in P9, which is an incredible feat if you discount Tim Hendrickson's effort from last week. But Cristobal definitely looking strong here. Not quite as strong as some, but definitely there or thereabouts as far as this particular race goes. It'll be interesting to see if he can indeed catch up to the back of Andres there and maybe even capitalise on Ben Snell, who I have noticed throughout the week has been locking up quite a bit in turn 2. A common problem that I've seen throughout the field as well. How hard is it to get into that braking zone in turn 2, especially with how quick that run through turn 1 is, Tim?
For me, Corey, it's like a personal setup thing. The way I have my brakes set is that it is pretty challenging to lock up the skippy. Like, I have to apply a ridiculous amount of pressure to get the car to lock up. But I think one of the things that changed with the current season is a lot of drivers choosing to run a brake bias a little further forward, just so the car's safer when the tyres are cold before they're up to temperature. Just makes it that little bit easier to drive. But during the race, though, once everything's up to temp, in my opinion, it's a reasonable amount slower than running. Traditionally, it might run a 52% bias, something like that. But a lot of guys have moved forward 2 clicks just to make it that little bit easier to drive. But not something I've done personally. Having said that, I haven't had very good results in the Skippy this season. Things haven't quite gone my way. So maybe, Corey, I'm not the right person to ask.
Well, you'd have a better opinion on it than me, mate. That much I know for sure. As we're looking out the back of Ben Snell's left rear suspension at the moment, we can see Andres has been closing in on him and only less than half a second behind him at the moment. So this could be a battle that's going to be starting to heat up fairly soon. As we go back to the outside view of the cars, these guys are definitely putting everything on the table at the moment. just trying to catch up to the group in front of him to try and get some moves done. As we're going to go back with the leaders very briefly here just to see how they're getting on. Looks like Tim Hendrickson still in the lead at the moment. His last lap was a 1 minute 12 999, which, considering, as you said earlier, he doesn't have any drafting help on that front straight, is quite amazing there, Tim.
Yeah, an impressive time, but at the same time, he's got no one interfering with the downforce, or the small amount of downforce that is available to the Skip Barber. The car turns in well, it's got nice consistent rear grip, and so he's got free track in front. I think the thing that's really important though in the Skippy is that you don't pay too much attention at a track like Oran Park to what the guy behind is doing. It is very, very tough to have a car slip up the inside or get close enough to make a move anywhere other than the front straight through turn 1 and 2. So I'm sure Tim's eyes forward as Sami Toikata a little bit further back than what we'd actually seen in the past few laps. I did see, Corey, that he did make a mistake leading up to the dogleg a lap and a half ago, 2 laps ago in fact, and just working back to catch Tim now. Lap 18 about to tick over, only a handful left, 20 laps here today, Corey, and Sami Toikala is going to want to make his move pretty quickly.
That's exactly right, Tim, and we can only hope that he's going to start planning it very soon as we see him close right up on the back of Tim Hendricks there, going through turn 2. Stuart Adcock still holding on to these front 2 drivers, just being there or thereabouts. This is going to be a great result for Stuart if he does manage to hold on to this 3rd place, or even if these guys get tangled up in front of him and maybe Stuart can find himself with a race victory here as well. Only time will tell, as these guys have only about 2.5 laps to go as they're going through the middle section of this circuit. All these 3rd gear corners, some of them fairly quick change if you're unprepared for it. And it seems that the cars are getting a little bit slidey here, Tim. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. Later in the race, Corey, track temps will have picked up a little bit. Not particularly hot today though. 26C on track, but as you push that little bit harder, the front end seems to go that little bit. You find yourself just dabbing the brake, just want to get the front end to collect as Tim Hendrickson protects the line into turn 1. He knows it's time for Sami to make a move. Sami's going to pop back out of the draft and try and stick it right around the outside. See who's got the gonads. Hendrickson and Toikala side by side into turn 2. Tim Hendrickson on the inside, Toikala on the outside. Hendrickson a good run. Sami's still there though, he's certainly not clear, and it would be extremely silly of Hendrickson to try and defend. Toikala got the inside now as they run through Shell Corner up to Champion Curve. Bit of contact, Hendrickson might get pushed off the track. Adcock sitting in the back, ready to make his move, ready to pounce, just waiting for the right time. Hendrickson a great run across the top there over the Dunlop Bridge and down into Foster's Dip, and keeps the #1 position on the track, Corey.
That was an incredible and close battle. A lot of respect being shown there between these high-level drivers. As I like to rattle on about when I'm doing the broadcast here with Alex, we gather the best drivers that we can for these races, and the amount of talent definitely shows with the high strength of field, and these guys having so much respect for each other on track. I mean, they made contact there as we saw while we were sitting on board here with Stuart, and they still managed to drive away from it and maintain position, as we see Tim Hendrickson going very defensive again into turn 1, and he's gone. Oh no, and he's hit Stuart Adcock as well. Things have gone all wrong here on the start of the final lap, Tim.
What did we say, Corey? Stuart Adcock just sitting tight, just counting his pennies, just waiting for that ticker to get to lap 20. And his time was going to come. There's a massive haul of points for Stuart Adcock tonight. 250, 260 points on offer, something crazy. And they're all his, every single one of them. Sami Toikala coming together with Tim Hendrickson. Hendrickson got all sorts of damage. His car would be impossible to drive. Somehow though, Corey, he's in P5. Disappointing for Tim. Been in control all race long. To have contact with Sami is really disappointing. He's going to come under a bit of pressure from Andres and Ben Snell. Ben's going to love the chance to pass Tim, because I know those two don't mind a bit of banter. Hendrickson, he's off the track now. Super unfortunate. Write him off. He's not even going to finish. But the race tonight, Corey, Stuart Adcock, he is your winner. A brilliant effort. Sat in the right place, was in the right place at the right time all race long. Sammy Toykala P2, Grebstad and Cat P3 and P4, Andres Marzal 5, and Ben Snell, a very good recovery. He didn't qualify too well, up 7 places and finishes in position 6, Corey.
Indeed, it was definitely one of the most exciting races we've had here tonight. We're going to bring up the standings real quick so we can have a look together. Stuart Adcock with the win, Sammy J. Toykala in second, Håkon Grebstad coming home P3, Anthony Cat fourth, Andres Marzal in fifth place there, Ben Schnell in P6, Simon Edwards in seventh, Cristobal Alterio Roman sitting in eighth position there, Tim Hendrickson coming home P9 at the end of it, Timu Vascalampi coming out of 10th, Toshimasa Hanada coming in P11, and Gustavo Conde wrapping up the SNL points coming home in 12th, with Jose Sawyer coming in 13th, Kane Halliburton, unfortunately, who exited stage left early in the race in 14th. Sasha Gourlay gone on lap number 1 in 15th. And it looks like Lee Anderson failed to start the race. And so gets credited with 16th finishing position. Incredible race here tonight, Tim. We got a lot to digest. What is your take on the action that we've seen here tonight?
Yeah, we certainly do. Plenty to talk about. I mean, that last lap, just surprising. I mean, we've seen Sammy, we know he's a gun driver and most comfortable when he's out in front, but I think the opportunity to pass didn't seem like it was there. I certainly felt like he turned in early to Hendrickson into turn one, and Tim's in control of that position. He has the inside run, and Sammy's completely muffed up and really ruined his race. So disappointing to end that way. But let's not take anything away from Stuart Adcock, Corey, who drove really, really well consistently. It was obviously fast. You can't just hang in there at a track like this. You've got to know what you're doing. Plenty of skill on board that Skip Barber today, and he is a very, very deserving winner tonight, Corey.
Indeed, he is. And now it's time that we've got to do the driver interviews, as we're going to maybe wait for some of these guys to populate the green room. I'm not sure they know that we are still actually broadcasting here tonight. Doesn't look like anyone wants to have a chat at the moment, Tim.
Well, I know we're not Alex McKellar, and that's just disappointing, I got to say. Well, look, there's a couple. They know we're upset. Ben Snell and Håkon Grebstad, thanks very much. I do hope some of the other regulars, Tim Hendrickson, it'd be nice to hear from him. And even if Stuart Adcock's in Discord, if he jumped on board, that would be brilliant. It'd be great to have a chat. But yeah, let's bring him up, mate. I don't think there's going to be too many showing up tonight.
All right, well, let's keep to the tradition, and we'll start off with the highest finisher here. So we're going to kick things off with
Feels bad.
Håkon Grebstad.
Hey
Håkon,
guys.
P3, mate, after what was quite the interesting race. Were you expecting to get third out of all that?
Oh, absolutely not. Like I was always hoping for something to happen in that front group of three, but with those kind of drivers, you know, that's like 1 out of 100 times something will happen and you get a freebie. And we got lucky this time.
Oh, very lucky indeed, mate, with a podium. You haven't had the best of luck here so far this season, but it seems that you and Oran Park are really getting along well, especially tonight.
Yeah, this week has been, I don't know, like this week has been really good for me. I haven't dropped out of a single race. I think I've finished top 5 in like 6 straight races this week. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's been really good. But yeah, I've been really struggling the last couple of weeks. The new Skippy is just not suiting my driving style.
Håkon, Tim here. Tell me, do you find that it's more challenging to qualify at a place like Oran Park? Something we spoke about at the while cars were out on track is that at some of the longer tracks you're out on track for like 6 or 7 minutes. You're using all the time available to get the car up to temp and get the tires up to temp. Here, though, it seems quite risky on the first couple of laps, and is it a harder place to qualify here at Oran Park than some of the other tracks we've been to in the past couple of weeks?
I wouldn't necessarily say so. Yes, it's harder to get your tires up to temp, especially your front tires. You can always cheat your way with the back tires and do a few donuts, but the front tires are hard to get warm enough around here for your outlap. So yeah, I guess it's a bit harder, but yeah.
At the end of the day, mate, it didn't matter for you. Up 5 positions into P3, a great result. Probably the biggest haul of points you've had in a little while.
Oh,
So
for sure.
a fantastic result. Well done. And we hope to see you back here, same time, same place next week with what I assume will
Yeah, it
be.
should be.
I assume it'll be Corey and Alex next week.
Oh, we're missing out on you, Tim. It's a shame.
If you're lucky, I might race.
Oh, damn it. Well,
Or I
there
might
goes
be
my
all talk and
podium.
I won't race.
Anyways, great catching up with you guys. You as well, Tim. Haven't seen you in a while.
No, it's appreciate you coming out tonight and contributing to what was a really good race. We got plenty of footage of you, and again, Hawk on a fantastic result. Anyone you want to say or have a shout out to tonight?
Well, obviously, I got to thank you guys especially for stepping in for Alex and actually doing this, even though he's away, because this little event here every week is great.
Terrific. Well, Hawkon, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, catch you guys later.
All right,
Thanks,
catch
mate.
you later, Håkon. Alrighty, so that was Håkon Grebstad, third place there, Tim. Probably one of the better drives that we've seen out of Håkon in the preceding weeks. What's your take on how he went tonight?
Yeah, terrific. Congratulations to him and a fantastic result. Bottom step of the podium, but he beat some quality drivers tonight, and he qualified well too. You know, like mid-pack for a guy that's a low 4K rated driver. You know, he spent a lot of time in the top split Discord. Obviously, Alex's Discord, Alex and Aussie. I think that a bit of the goodness that is at Oran Park has rubbed off on Hawkon this week. He did really well. So congratulations to him.
Alrighty, next on our list we have the main Milo driver that we get to talk to every week. Up 7 positions tonight, started from 13th and finished in P6. We're talking to Milo's own Ben Snell. Ben, what an incredible race for you, mate. How do you feel?
Hello, guys. I don't deserve 6, but I'll take it.
We know you don't deserve 6.
I'm literally the slowest car tonight in terms of actual pace, and somehow I lucked my way into a fairly decent position, so I'm not going to complain at all.
Well,
That looks like
sometimes...
Sorry, go Corey.
I was going to say, sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good, and you were definitely very lucky tonight. Let's talk about some of the struggles that you might have faced in this race. I noticed you were locking up in turn 2 a bit there, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how to take turn 1 and turn 2 here. I either go really, really slow and lose time, or I go too fast and lock a wheel and lose time. So I haven't managed to figure out how to do turn 1 and 2 without losing time. But when I do, I'll let you know.
All right, mate. You go, Tim.
Terrific result. And I got to say, while your pace seems like it was on pace with the top guys around you. I mean, most people were only capable of doing a 13.0. The top handful a little bit quicker, 12.7, 12.8. But you're in the right place when you needed to be. You didn't get caught up in any incidents. You hung on to Hawkon pretty well early in the piece, you hung on to Andres early in the piece, and cars fell off the track around you, and that's just their bad luck, and you're easy pickings for you, which is really nice to see. So a good result. Please you didn't throw it down the road, mate, like what kind of happened the prior race, the real soft of the week, 49 or whatever we got last time around. But it looks like things went pretty well for you, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, and good job with the broadcast. I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys did in Alex's absence.
Oh, we dominated.
Yeah, we
both.
Oh my god.
We both peed in his seat just to be sure.
Did you cross streams?
Yeah, definitely.
Dude.
All right, Ben. While we get you up
here, we keep going.
while we get you up in the booth, Ben, we know you got some people to thank. Who you got to thank here tonight?
Of course, I'd always love to thank Team Milo, especially Sammy for killing Timmy Hendrickson on the last lap there, giving me my last freebie for the night. And of course, you guys can ride along with me live on Twitch as well at twitch.tv/Snellovision. So next week, if you feel like watching the warm-up races as well, you can watch me crash in those and then hopefully do well in SNL.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, Ben. Congratulations on your P6 and making those 7 positions in the race. Hell of a drive, mate.
Thank you very much, guys.
Alrighty, guys, so that was Ben Snell. Up 7 positions there, Tim. He claims that he just didn't have the pace, but we saw for sure and certain that he was definitely maybe fibbing us a little bit there.
Yeah, well, the best laps don't lie, do they? You know, a 13.086. He was pretty quick. His average might have been a bit off that, but, you know, that's really subject to a lot of traffic and other bits and pieces, you know. And when you're stuck behind someone, and I did mention before that he and Andres mingled a lot tonight, that it is challenging to rip out fastest lap after fastest lap. So, but Ben did terrific. Well done to him. Good haul of points in a very high soft. And, yeah, we'll see him next week, no doubt. Ready to kick some butt again.
That's exactly right, and we know that the Skippy this season is definitely to Ben's liking, so it's going to be good to see what he can do later on in the season. But for now, we're going to talk to the guy that we've wanted to talk to ever since we've seen the events at the start of the last lap unfold. We're bringing up Team Torpedo's own Tim Hendrickson. Tim, absolute heartbreaker there at the last lap, man. Tell us what happened from your perspective.
Oh, Corey, I'll tell you all about what happened, you buddy. I was having a fun race with, my boy Sammy, and that was a blimmin' heck of a race, I'll tell you. Whew. Yeah, nice and in control in P1. He tries to overtake me once, hits me in the side. I'm like, hey, nice job, buddy. Tries to go for it the next lap in T1. Didn't go as well. So hey, I'm happy.
Well, it did seem like you had a fairly dominant race here tonight, besides that last lap drama there. So how was the race view as a whole, and how did you acclimatise to the track?
Oh yeah, I mean, I did plenty of races this week, so I knew I'd be most comfortable in P1, so I made sure I got a good start. And after that, I was just in control, doing my laps. Pretty sure I was pretty consistent in the high 12s. Pretty happy with my pace. Not quite as happy with the end result, sadly.
Yeah,
Bummer.
Unfortunately.
Well, I know one person who is happy, and that's Ben Snell. He is over the moon.
I bet he is.
He is. We spoke earlier, Tim, about the banter that exists between you two.
Right.
And it's some of the finest in iRacing, I have to say.
Oh,
so Ben
definitely.
Snell, just a final shout out, Ben Snell. Congratulations on your glorious finish ahead of Tim Hendrickson.
Hold on.
What?
That's not. No. This is my interview. God.
This is descending into anarchy.
Really unfortunate, because you're in complete control. Tell me though, I gotta ask a question.
Right. Yeah.
When you watch the replay, you're gonna wonder where you went on track, because you disappeared for about 20 seconds.
Oh, I mean,
and came out in front of Sammy.
well, on the start.
Yeah.
Right. So that, yeah.
It was quite amazing.
Do you remember Road America, Tim?
Well, you didn't disappear at Road America.
I didn't disappear, but I did exactly the same thing.
You did. Somehow jumped the start without getting a penalty. I haven't got that figured out yet, but when I do,
I'll be
sure to tell everyone. So
I did not jump the start, Timmy.
It was definitely one of the best starts that I had ever seen. We had a camera in a fixed position there at the start line when the lights went green, and I thought for a second you might have jumped it and second-guessed yourself, but it was definitely an excellent start that you got off the line there. What's your secret, Tim?
Let's say second-guessing has part of it.
He's a cheat.
And that's all I'm going to give away.
No, legitimately, we spoke last week about it. Tim and I were second last and last at Road America, and my lights are still red, and he's left and didn't get a penalty. And we spoke afterwards. It's like, no, I just guessed. I thought we've sat there long enough. It's probably time to go. Bang off the clutch, and away he went, no penalty. Same
Are you
thing
giving
again.
away my secrets, Tim?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Anyway,
After 1,000 races on iRacing and a lot of skippy races, you start to find patterns in the lights, and I've found the pattern, and I know how it works now.
that's
so
until
that's
you
the
get a stop go
secret.
penalty.
So you got to learn the pattern to get the good starts. You heard it here first, guys.
No, no, shh, shh.
Tell me, how many races have you done this week?
Let's have a look, shall we? Let's go to stats. I think it's about 16.
Okay.
Oran Park. It is 16 races exactly. Yeah.
Done well.
Yeah.
Not quite the result you look for this time round. But
No, it's quite sad because in the race before this, yeah, I got hit by another Finn. I don't know if you've heard of him, Teemu Baskilam.
no,
Yeah.
no, must be new. Must be a
Yeah,
rookie.
he still finished behind me, just so you know. But yeah, those Finns. I don't know. I don't think I'm a fan.
I like them. They're good. They're good value. Without them, we'd be racing by ourselves.
Well, yeah, that'd be a lot more comfortable for my butt.
Anyway,
Alrighty, Timmy.
I think it's time we wound this up. Otherwise, we'll
You
show
get the boss is taking control in chat. You should probably kick me out now.
Alright, well, while we got you up here in chat, first and foremost, Timmy, who you got to thank? We know you got a couple of people at least.
Well, Team Torpedo, of course, for being such a fantastic team, and you guys for the broadcast. I'm actually, I like you guys a lot better than Alex.
Alex is
a
wonderful.
lot
I know you
more
love
fun. Don't get me wrong, he's fantastic, but he's that beard and everything. He just looks old. You guys look dashing.
Thank you.
Well, you don't know what I look like. I got a beard too, mate.
Yeah, but not one of them disgusting beards like Alex. Shh.
Alrighty, well, Tim Hendrickson, unfortunately down in P9 after being so dominant here. Thank you for your time, and thanks for coming out to support Skippies each and every week, mate.
Bye.
Alrighty, Tim. Tim Hendrickson there. It's the Tim and Tim show up here in the broadcast booth when we got him here.
It
excellent.
was indeed, wasn't it?
Excellent race, though. He absolutely controlled it from start to almost to finish.
Yeah, he did, and it's disappointing for him because I think he thought he covered well enough. He's so really disappointing to see that little bit of contact and so on. But obviously, he wouldn't be so annoyed, so disappointed to have done 19 perfect laps. If he only spun from their contact, then came home in third, wouldn't be the end of the world. But to have written the car off, I think, personally, I'd be pretty cross, pretty upset. P9, not a real reflection of how good Tim drove tonight. So disappointing for him. I know we'll be back next week though, ready to kick some butt again.
Well, that's exactly it. Alright, so for now, guys, we are actually going to head off from here on behalf of Tim Grawcrotcher and myself, all the guys that come out and race here tonight in the Skippies. We would like to thank you for supporting the series, and we hope to see you guys again next week. And for us, it's ciao for now.